welcome to another episode of Help with Natalie Cuomo. I'm here with Carmen Lynch.
Hi.
Fantastic comedian.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So your first things first, you are recording a stand-up special at the Village Underground.
Comedy Cellar, Village Underground, Monday, June 26th. 2 shows.
Yes.
8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. Please come. And everything's on my Instagram at Carmen Comedian or thecomedycellar.com. And it's like there's dark jokes. There's slightly inappropriate jokes. There's jokes I never did on late night because, you know, they would never fly on TV.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be fun. I'm excited.
And then you're doing another taping in Barcelona a month later of a Spanish
special. All in Spanish, about 50% same material.
Really?
Some other stuff that's not on the English one will be on there.
So how do you decide what you want to keep for the Spanish stand-up special and what only really applies to that set?
It just doesn't work. Like, I just tried it and it just doesn't fly, or it's too subtle, or the language is an issue. And it's also like whatever I want to do. Like there's old stuff that I've done in English a bunch of times, and I just feel like doing it in Spanish.
When did you start doing stand-up in Spanish?
Like maybe 7 years ago.
That's fucking crazy. That's amazing.
Well, it's funny because I've been doing English stand-up for like 20 years, and I would go to Spain and see my family because my mom's from Spain.
Okay.
And they were like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "I'm a stand-up comedian." And they're like, "What's that?" Like it wasn't a thing.
Wow.
And, you know, maybe some people knew about it, but it wasn't like on the, you know, we didn't have it on the internet the way it is today.
Yeah.
So they were like, "Do you draw a comic book? Like, what do you do?" And now it's just everywhere. Right. So the more the years progressed, the more stand-up I did in Spain. And then I started to open for a couple of friends who were comedians. And now I've just been doing long sets there. So I just figure it's time.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What are the main challenges you think in doing stand-up in 2 languages?
I think at first I was worried because I'm fluent, but I lived there until I was 8.
Okay.
So I sometimes talk like an 8-year-old Spanish girl. So I would think of that as like a problem, whereas now I embrace it because I kept trying to correct my grammar, not my grammar, but like I don't have the slang and the cool, you know, adult talk, like way they talk. Cause you know, words, like trendy words change.
Yeah.
Right. So now I'm like, I embrace it. I'm like, fuck it. If I say it wrong and they laugh at my Spanish, I'm good. I don't care.
As long as it's a laugh.
As long as it's a laugh, I don't care. I'm like, just come and laugh at my Spanish. If you don't get my jokes, I don't care.
Does your mom come?
Hell no.
No?
No.
You're like, you did this whole... No?
No, my cousins come. My sister comes. My brother-in-law comes. Now my nieces want to come, but they're like 14 and 17. And I'm like, some of the stuff is still not stuff I want them to know or hear. But my mother, first of all, she doesn't even come to my English stuff. My parents live in America, and they came to one show literally the year I started. Because they were like, "What are you doing with your life? We paid for college. Let's see what you're doing." And it was the worst. I mean, I was an idiot. It was a bringer show. Yeah. Every person that went up was talking about their dick, and it was empty. It was an empty room, you know? And I'm like, this is what they think I want to do. And from then on, I was like, "You're never coming." And they've seen me on like Letterman, and they've seen me on stuff, but I'm like live, and their comedy, like they don't get it. Like she's Spanish, so she's not going to get it.
Right.
And half of the time I joke in like on Thanksgiving or when I'm home, they're like, they don't get it. They just they're so literal. Like my parents are so literal that they don't get humor. I mean, some humor, you know? So it's just easier. Like I honestly hate it when people come for this special. I'm like, please sit in the back in the dark. Like my dentist is coming. Like all these people I know are coming. And I'm like, can you just please sit in the back? And they get so offended. They're like, why? And I'm like, I don't want to see your fucking face.
You make me nervous.
You're going to distract me. And all I'm going to think about is you.
Where does your sense of humor come from if your parents are so literal?
I think it's, I don't know. I mean, I have a couple of, my mom, they have a sense of humor. It's just not, I guess maybe it's just me. They take me seriously.
Okay.
You know, but I have a couple uncles who are really funny. And I think like my dad's goofy, silly. And I think I got some of that. So it's like a mix.
I love a goofy dad.
Yeah. They're fun.
Yeah, they like just whenever there's a goofy dad in the audience with a goofy dad laugh, it just makes the whole show better, I feel.
Yeah, it's now they just definitely wouldn't get my stuff. They're just tired.
You've done like every single late night. I mean, it's crazy. Do you still get nervous?
For late night?
Yeah.
No, I think you just want to do well. So there is a little bit of nerves, because it just shows you care.
Yeah.
But 5 minutes, like even if I'm nervous, I'm like, okay, in 5 minutes, this will be over.
Right.
Like in a special, you're like, I have to do this for an hour. And if they hate me, I can't get off the stage. Like they have to keep, I have to be here. So it's totally different. Yeah. Like this is my first comedy special. Like some parts of me can't believe I've waited this long, but I was planning on doing it before COVID. And then I just got kind of too comfortable, just kind of not thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, why don't I just do both? And in a weird way, I wasn't nervous about the Spanish one. I'm like, let me just do a Spanish special. And then there was a voice in my head that's like, well, what are you going to skip the English one? Like that's your rent. Like that's what you do. And I was like, fuck it, I'll just do both.
That's crazy and amazing. And definitely a true comedian is like, I'm just doing everything.
Yeah, and I want to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Like, I have friends who are doing it in the fall, and I would be so nervous up until the fall. Yeah. So now I'm just like, just do it in 2 months, and now it's like 2 weeks away. And I'm like, just get it over with, because I can't stop thinking about it. Like, I obsess about things. So I'm like looking at all my jokes, changing the order. Yeah. So it's just better that I just do it now.
It's going to be amazing.
Thank you.
It's going to be fantastic.
I'm excited. Some of the jokes are really dark and get some like weird reactions, but those are the ones that are my favorite.
What do you mean? Like what kind of subjects? What are the dark subjects that you kind of delve into?
Like, there's religious stuff, but then there's like cancer and like there's a lot of people I know who've gotten cancer. I mean, it sounds like sad, but it's not. It's only like 5 minutes. But there are topics like that, you know. And there's also like silly stuff.
Is that kind of your way of coping with it, or do you just when it's in your life you think of?
I just think about it because it's in my life.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would say it's not all like it's not a 1 hour show about cancer. Please come, please come. Yeah, and just stuff that just kind of takes a dark turn that you just wouldn't expect.
But you have two albums out already. So how is recording an album different than recording a special?
Well, this is like the chicken shit way of doing things. Like I did my albums kind of spur of the moment. Like I was just away for a weekend. Uh-huh. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make this my album this weekend. Just because, like I said, there's no pressure.
Yeah.
So like the first one was at the San Francisco Punchline and the second one was at the Comedy Attic in Bloomington.
Okay.
And that same weekend, I was like, you know what? This will be it. And then I kind of coasted off of that. And I'm like, that was so easy because I didn't have to worry. And you can't do that for a comedy special. So like a videotaped thing. So I had to like pre-plan this. So a lot of my anxiety comes from like planning.
So why, for people that are watching and might not know, like why can't you just tape your set on the road and then be like, it's the special?
I mean, you can, but you have to like find the photographer and find the sound mix guy.
Yeah. And
find that. I'm sure you can if you're like super famous and they're like, of course I want to help you.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like, are you available? Like,
Right.
So, but I am using Jason Katz and he's super, he's great. He does a lot of the stuff at the Cellar.
Cool.
And I'm just excited. I think it'll be fun.
To me, the Village Underground is like the most epic room. When the band is on stage, when you're in there, you just feel all of the life in that room.
Yeah. That's why I want it like packed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I also get stressed out by planning. Like I make all my own clips for social media, and for some reason, like as soon as I made it, I'm like, it needs to be posted now.
Yes.
And like Dan will always say to me, like, you don't post 3 in a day. What are you doing? But for some reason, if I have it, I don't want to think about having to put it out there. And I'm like, it's fine. Just get rid of it.
Yes.
I don't know why.
It would just be nice to be like big enough to be like, I don't have to do this anymore. Yeah. And then just not look at it anymore. But then once it's up, you're like, well, how's it doing?
I know.
And that's the problem with COVID. Like I just got so obsessed with like videos and TikTok because there was no stand up
Yeah.
There was no distraction. So I was just like constantly putting stuff up.
Do you feel like that helped you?
It helped me get through COVID. But now I look back and I'm like, God, I was so like comfortable. I don't want to say lazy because I did stuff, but I could have maybe like put a COVID special out or something, like something. But yeah, it was still fun. Like I cooked a lot and I, hung out with my boyfriend more than usual.
That's fun.
So, and we're still together. So COVID didn't.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
For
some people, it just turned bad.
So most comics haven't done Craig Ferguson.
Yeah. I mean, well, my boyfriend used to write for him. So it was really funny because I met my boyfriend like years ago before I did stand up. We were both temps at Goldman Sachs, and then cut to like 15 years later or like 12 years later, I did Ferguson, and I was like, oh my God, I think he's a writer there. And I Facebooked him because I didn't keep in touch, and that's all that we had at the time. And I Facebooked him, and I was like, I think you write for this show. Like, maybe let's get coffee. And he wrote back, I don't work there anymore, and I'm divorced. So, and we always kind of had this like chemistry. So I remember just going like, oh my God, he's divorced. That's great. And then it still took a while. I think like another year and a half before we started dating. But that was kind of the thing that made us get in touch again.
Damn.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I should thank Craig Ferguson.
It's so funny because Craig Ferguson, like that's what I would, when I couldn't sleep and I like, and was anxious as a kid, I would go in my dad's room and watch Craig Ferguson with him. And that was like the comfort show for some reason.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I love that show.
Yeah. It was I loved his monologue because it was so different from everyone else's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite like late night show that you've done?
I mean, they were all really fun, and all the hosts came over and said hi and all that. But, Letterman was always exciting to me because it was the first one.
Yeah.
And also because it was in New York, and, I was living here. And I always watched him the most. So, and then I got to do it again, which was fun. I think I was more nervous the second time because I was like, oh God, they liked me. Now I have to like prove myself that, that they made the right decision to have me back. It's just there's so much bullshit in your head that just like, especially for me, I just create anxiety.
Same.
Where I don't need it. So, but they were all fun. Like Conan came backstage and, shot the shit for a while.
That's
and
cool.
It's just fun. Fallon, same thing. So
That's amazing. Colbert
was like, it was funny because I was like, I want to meet him. And then right when I was behind the curtain and the producer was like, I'm going to let you know when to step out. Mm-hmm. Like Colbert literally opened the curtain and it's like, hey, it's nice to meet you. And I was like, so in my head, I was like, I kind of wanted to be like, don't talk to me now because I need to remember my jokes. Yeah. So it was like, hey, how are you? But I wasn't like totally present because I'm like, now they're going to call me. I'm just going to be like, what was that first line I wanted to say,
Yeah.
So that was very quick, but I still appreciated it,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What are your like goals on the horizon? Like you want to put this special out. It's going to be on YouTube when it's...
I think so. Yeah. I'm still working on some stuff.
Ooh. Mm-hmm. What are your goals? Like to me, you're such an accomplished comedian. Like at that point, I'm like, you've done so much. Like what's on the horizon for you?
I guess more fans, because these days it's not just, late night. It's like more followers equals bigger rooms to perform in.
Right.
And then I'm doing the Spanish one because I want to like do stuff in Latin America, South America, and have a following there. So, and I'd love to, act more obviously and, do stuff in both languages. So I think there's so much more out there now. I think before it was just like, yeah, do a late night and wait till they call you. But now everything is so do it yourself.
Yeah.
That it does feel a little weird for me because I started when it wasn't very do it yourself. You just kind of like waited around for something to happen. So this feels extremely aggressive to me still to be like, just do it. Like Liz Mealy has been such like an angel because she constantly produces her own specials.
Yeah.
And she's like, I promise it gets easier. Just do the first one and you won't freak out. But it's this constant, like, what else can I do for myself thing.
That feeling like I always need to be productive. I always need to be like growing in some way.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Liz so much. She produces so much of her own stuff.
She's a constant worker and also such a good friend, because if I have a meltdown or I don't know how to do something, she's just right. She's like, do this, do that, do this. And I'm like, how can I be like you? Give me your brain. She's like, I promise you I was like this for my first one, so yeah, it's very inspiring.
It's important to like have those people in comedy that you can like learn from and look up to, but are still your friends.
Yeah. And they're always real. They're always like just honest.
Yeah.
What
do you think the best advice you've ever received is?
I mean, I would say just don't care what others think. It's so hard, because this is such a world of like everyone's watching you, everyone's commenting.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, yeah, you have to do whatever you want. And just like, I still can't read comments. Like, just because even if they're all great and one is bad, I will zoom in on that bad one. Like I had a recent one in Spanish where it was simple. It was like, she's not funny, but it was in Spanish. And my brain just went to, oh my God, now I'm an international loser. Whereas before it was just English speaking. And now I'm like, every single person who speaks Spanish knows that I suck. And I'm like, why did I go there?
Yeah.
It was crazy. And I had to like reel it back in. Like, this is one comment from a loser who has 10 followers. Just drop it.
I know.
But you just can't.
My brain catastrophizes everything, whether it's with comedy or just like my life in general.
Yeah.
One thing will go wrong and I'll feel like the consequences are so much bigger for some reason.
Yeah, it's almost like just having a great show, but that one person in the front has their arms crossed.
So you're staring at them.
And I'm like, I want to ask you like why you're doing that, but now I'm like, am I going to be a bitch? Like I want to, you bring it up, but at the same time you're like, why did you have to come? Like you could have sat in the back or you could have stayed home.
Yeah, I can't stand when the whole crowd is laughing. There's one person like this.
Yeah.
And in your head, you're just like, don't address it. Keep going.
But then your head is like split. It's like, I'm thinking about this person, but I'm also doing my jokes. And I'm like, I want to stop thinking about you. So I have to say something.
Yeah.
That's what I told everyone at this who's coming to the special. I was like, don't sit in the front. Like, I want you in the dark. And people get so offended. They're like, well, why? And I'm like, because I don't want to see your face. Like, you're going to distract me. I want perfect strangers. I want people I don't know in the front.
Yes. I want perfect strangers to be scowling at me, not you.
Yeah. Or like I had one time I had this girl I knew sitting in the front and she had this huge grin. She was like so excited. And I'm like, this is not helping me. Like sit even three rows back is dark. Like just sit 3 rows back.
My dad has this thing now. So he hasn't seen me perform in a while, but he lives in the city. And I was like, okay, Dad, come to a show. And he's like, okay, but I have a problem with my neck. So I need to sit in the front row looking up. And I was like, okay. He wound up like not sitting in the very front. But he has one of those laughs that's so loud that even the clips I post, people are commenting like, that one dude's laugh. And I'm like, I actually like that he has a loud laugh. It's a buffer a bit for like, I'm like, all right, my dad was laughing.
That's so cute that your dad comes though.
Yeah, he's come to a few. My parents are very like artsy and supportive.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I think the reason I just don't want anyone I know to be like staring back at me from the audience is probably because I had such an issue with my parents. Like they meant well, but it was never a comfortable conversation to talk about like I'm doing stand up, because it was like they're traditional. They've always had the same job. So for them, like moving to New York to like pursue acting or stand up was like, you're crazy to do that. You're crazy.
Did that fuel you? Or
was it did for a while. It fueled me for a while. And then I'd say 2 or 3 years in, I got really confused. I was like, am I doing this because I just want to piss them off? Or do I love this? And I honestly got so confused because we just couldn't agree on anything. So I stopped. And about a year later, I went back. So that one year I was like, oh yeah, I do miss this. This is what I want to do. And then I just never looked back.
What'd you do for the year off?
Well, I was already like temping and I had a real job because, I was still doing bringers. It's so funny. Yeah. It's like not stuff that like comics do now.
I know.
But that's how you had to do it. Like you had to flyer outside. There was no social media. So you had to like pass out flyers and bring people to your show. And, you didn't get paid or anything. So you had to have a job. So I just focused on my like other side of my life, like my day job and my like civilian friends. And I dated a guy who was a civil, like everything was Carmen without comedy. And I'm like, I'm miserable. So.
I feel like comedy it becomes something that you just need to be happy.
Yeah. Well, once you've like tasted it.
Yeah.
Even like dating artists, even if they're not comics, but they're just in the creative world, it was like something I needed.
Because they don't understand it.
They don't understand it. And then they ask you if you date like a regular person, and for some people it works, but every time I tried to date a regular person, it felt like a podcast. It was like an interview. It was like, how do you write your jokes? And I'm like, I don't want to deal with any of this.
Right. Or they're fans of like a comedian that you're like, you
have no taste.
Hut you.
Yeah. Or yeah, they see you. Like I went out with this one guy and he was a fan of Carmen on stage, but Carmen off stage wasn't exactly the same. Like I'm not like throwing jokes out off stage,
Right.
And I was like, oh, like this is weird. Like he likes that girl.
Yeah.
Carmen on stage. And I was like, this isn't working.
I had this joke about how like I'm not related to the governor, but we both have nipple piercings.
Yeah.
But like I don't, I was just a joke. And I hooked up with this guy like a couple years ago and I took off my shirt and literally the first thing he says is like, whoa, no nipple piercings? And I was like,
you're like, that's why you why do you remember my jokes more than
this is crazy. So that didn't work.
I can't believe you don't have a nipple piercing.
Honestly,
it's shocking.
Do you have one?
No, hell no. I've had a belly ring.
Yeah.
And it was great for about a year, and then it got so infected.
Oh.
And I tried, and it wasn't even like I was doing anything nasty. It was just I did nothing different, and I was like, I gotta get rid of this shit. It hurts.
Yeah, I don't know. Tattoos, I don't bother me at all, but the idea of something being like pierced or like something being in your skin, it just like bothers me.
Well, especially like your nipple just feels sensitive.
Yeah.
But like your belly, it doesn't really, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
it's not the same sensitivity.
No.
Or vulnerability. I don't want to go to a stranger and just be like, do your thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, tattoos, though, I mean, like, those look great. I just could never decide what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I've always had, this sounds like a joke, but it's not. But I've always had, like, commitment issues. And I'm always like, if I commit to, like, a design, I know I'll hate it in, like, a month. That's just me.
I liked your speaking of commitment issues, like, so you have these jokes about dating an older guy with a kid.
Yeah.
And how you're like, let's get rid of the kid.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so funny because I've dated guys with kids before. And in my experience, I wish that I felt the way that you did. Like, I was like, I am your mom. And I like dedicated my life to like being like, I was like me. I want the kid to like me.
Well, no, I'm like that. I think that's why I say that is because I don't think he likes me. And it's not that he doesn't like me. I'm just, why would he care about me when he has parents, you know? And I think there's like this age where if like my boyfriend and I started dating and he was 2 and he's like too young to understand things, or he was like 20 and he was like, all right, dad has a girlfriend, you know? But when they're like between, I think we started dating when he was 7 and now he's 14 or 15. Like he's smart enough to know, like, you know, at the beginning he was probably like, who are you? You know?
Yeah.
But it's still not like, hey, Carmen, let's go to the movies. Like I have this picture, like this fantasy of him just like loving to be with me.
Yeah.
You know?
Like I like you better than dad.
And it's never never been like that. Not even close. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? I'm fun, you know? But like, it's clearly not him. It's just like our situation. And it's funny. Some people just come up to me and they're like, that's totally normal. Like when he starts dating and he like, there's a certain age where like kids love their dad. And of course he doesn't get to see his dad a lot because he lives with his mom. So I'm like, yeah, you guys go play. You know, I sometimes come with them, but some people are like, why don't you like plan a weekend together? Just you and him. I'm like, are you kidding? That would never happen. He'd be like running the other way.
Well, that's the interesting thing about like when you're with someone who has a kid, you have to like in a relationship without a kid, you accept that you guys are each other's number one priority. But with a kid, you're like, I understand that the kid is number one. It's a whole different dynamic.
It's so different because we actually started dating in LA. So his whole family lives in New York. So when we were in LA, it was like a honeymoon. Like it was just us. I mean, we were each other's priority and whatever. And then I eventually moved back to New York to do more stand-up because there's more comedy at the time. There was just more comedy there.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I love New York, you know? And then he came and lived in New York and everything changed. Like his son is there, his family's there, his mother was there. Like, and it was like he was being pulled in all these directions naturally because his family's there. And it was a completely different situation. I was like, can you pencil me in? Like, I'm your girlfriend, you know? Like part of me was like, let's go back to LA. It's not the same.
LA would be also the romanticized place.
Totally.
Things are just, the weather's nice.
Yeah, let's go hike. We'd go hiking and see the Hollywood sign and eat tacos together. And yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How do you balance like being on the road all the time with just feeling normal as a human?
I mean, a lot of times, like my boyfriend will come with me, which is really fun. Like I just did Europe, so I did Berlin and Vienna and all these places, and he came with me, and it was super fun because he dabbled in stand-up before he became a writer. So he would like open for me and do spots, and it was really fun. Yeah. Cause I'd never seen him do stand up before. So he did like 5 or 6 minutes. And
oh my God.
Yeah. It was like stuff. It was cause I know him as a writer, and clearly now there's a strike. So, you know, whatever. Now would be like the perfect time for him to open for me. But, but it was really funny. So I try to like incorporate my personal life. I can see why like really big comedians bring their best friends to open or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I've always loved traveling, even if it's a place that's not that exciting. I just, you know, I'll go walk around in that town and just check it out. It just wasn't.
I like seeing how other people live. It's just interesting. Same. I've like lived in New York my whole life, and I really didn't realize how different the rest of the country is. It's wild.
What's like the craziest place you've been to?
I feel like parts of Missouri and Indiana or Ohio. I'm just like, oh, why did I ever complain about New York?
Isn't it weird? Like you go somewhere and you're like, God, you guys have so much space.
Yeah.
Like not even the apartment, but just like the land.
Yeah.
Like one time I just kept looking up and someone was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I can see your whole sky. You know, you don't have any tall buildings. And I sound like such a weirdo, but it's true.
Yeah, it is nice. It's funny because I've been watching Hoarders, and they have so much space.
Yeah.
They have there's this one guy, he had like 40 acres.
Yeah.
And
he hoarded it all up?
He hoarded it all. Yep, he did.
That's crazy. I saw that show during the pandemic, and I was so, it made me nauseous. Like it was so gross. Cause I can be very like cluttery, but not with food. Like food, I'm so OCD. I'm like, I don't want roaches. I don't want mice. Like I have to pick up every crumb, but I have piles. Like I get made fun of. My boyfriend's like, what is that pile? I'm like, these are my jokes. Leave me alone. You know? So when I saw Hoarders and there was like a sandwich under one pile and then like a dead cat under the other, I was like, this is so gross. I cannot handle this dead cat. That's like a stiff dead cat.
Yeah, it is gross.
Yeah.
Sometimes I watch it though, and I I'm like, how am I like the hoarder? Like I really feel like I identified with them.
Oh, totally.
I'm not. Yeah. I mean, I just moved into a new apartment. It's clean. There's no hoard, but not yet. I think about like how I've gotten really like I don't know the word, but like possessive or rebellious if someone tried to touch my stuff at any point for no reason.
Like I can totally relate to hoarding because one of my triggers is also like fear of rejection. And I think it goes back to like living in Spain and coming to this country and like pulling yourself out of your life. So I feel like hoarders probably just need stuff around them to feel not rejected, to feel not alone.
Yeah.
And I can totally relate to that.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing more fun than shopping.
Like when I think about not so much now because I'm living with someone, but when I was single, or like even a child, like when I was a child, I had a huge pile of stuffed animals just to not feel alone.
Yeah.
And it was kind of hoardy, you know?
But they're so cute.
And you're like, I'm not alone.
And they're so cuddly.
Yes.
And you can pretend they have personalities.
I mean, I used to. Didn't you talk to your stuffed animals?
I still do.
Yeah. If I had a pet, that's what freaks me out. I would be such a, like, I don't think I'd leave my apartment. I think I would just talk to my animals.
I know. I have a bit of dog park anxiety because I bring my dog to the park, but when he's at the park, like all I can think of is like whenever him and another dog are smelling each other, I'm like, they're about to get in a fight. Like I don't know. I just being at the dog park makes me like want to throw up.
So where would you rather go? Just like walk down the street?
I guess. I mean, I still take him a lot. I'd rather like go for a hike. I know he needs interaction with other dogs, but like that feeling of I don't have control if something happens to him because he's just out socializing with dogs. It's
you're like his mother or her mother.
Yeah.
What kind of dog do you have?
He's like a rescue, so he is a little sassy.
Yeah.
But it just, man, like we went yesterday, and after 20 minutes, I was like, we've done it. It's time to go.
Let's go home. I want a dog, but we're not allowed to have one.
Oh, really?
In our apartment. And then I'm gone all the time. And my boyfriend's like, I'm not taking care of a dog because you're not here. And I was like, what about like when I'm 70 and maybe I'll be too tired to travel?
Yeah.
And he's like, we'll talk about it then.
What was your favorite place that you traveled to recently?
Recently was probably Berlin.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was only there for a couple days, but the history there, we did this like day tour of like everything about the wall and all that stuff. And it's just also a very artsy town.
Yeah.
And the comedy's really good. I would say, yeah, I'd love to go back there.
That's cool.
But I have like, after the special, I go back to Spain to shoot the Spanish one. And then I go to Alaska.
Whoa.
So it's just places like that where you don't think you'll ever go to. Like, why would you go to Alaska? I mean, I guess you would, but when someone else pays for it, it's nice. But I want to stay in like a whale watching or, get
do
some
stuff
salmon.
like that.
Yeah, or like see a bear from a bus so I don't get killed. Like I get so scared of like animals attacking, but I want to do a safari in like Africa, but it sounds like that'll be the time that like a lion attacks a human.
What is your like biggest fear?
Besides being eaten by a lion. No one coming to my special. Come to my special. Monday, June 26th. CarmenLynch.com or ComedyCellar.com. I would say probably, like having a slow death sounds just awful.
Yeah.
Like that recent guy who was killed by a shark. Did you see that?
That is circulating. I won't go on Twitter to watch the video, but I feel like enough people have been like, I just saw someone get eaten by a shark.
Well, it's so sad because like people are filming it, but also he's far away enough that you wouldn't go in because then it's just going to eat you. Like you see a boat coming towards him to help, but all you see is him being pulled, which is enough. It's like subtle. You don't see like his mouth or anything, but you just see him getting dragged under. And it's like, this is just like Jaws. Like this is literally what happens. And you don't see like blood. I didn't watch it that far or whatever, but it looks awful. Yeah, it looks awful. It's just like being eaten by an alligator. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
But like watching animals attack each other, I think is so fun. Like
it is.
I love that. Do you follow Nature is Metal?
Yes, I was just thinking that.
Yeah, it's so great. Like I think there was a headless zebra that was just being eaten. And I'm like, this is amazing because it's nature and you expect it, you know?
But for some reason we've just excused ourselves from nature, even though we really shouldn't. But
yeah,
I don't want to see a human walking around like that.
No, there are people.
Yeah.
But I love that handle. Like I can watch. I saw an alligator just holding down a deer underwater.
Damn.
And I was like, imagine if that was a human. Like, it's too much.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I've never seen an alligator in real life.
I mean, no, I saw it on Nature's Metal.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
no.
I'm just saying.
I went to Costa Rica and they were like, do you want to see the biggest crocodiles, or I never know what they're called, or alligators in your life? And I was like, are you kidding? Yes. But also, where am I standing compared to them? And they're like, you're so close because you're on a bridge, but they can't because, they're literally right there. They were so big and they were like dinosaurs. And I was like, holy fucking shit. Like they put, I don't know if the Florida ones are that big, but these were like nasty, old, gigantic.
Damn.
And it was wild. It was so cool.
That's amazing. I like Costa Rica, all these. I feel like I've been going to Canada and that's been feeling exciting. I've been like feeling a lot of gratitude for the travel lately, but Costa Rica, I really want to go there.
You have to go there. It's, there's so much green. Like when I think of Costa Rica, there's I forget what they call it, but it's like cloud forest. I think it was called the cloud forest or something.
Yeah.
But this was years ago, and you could either zip line through the trees and the clouds, or you could do these like weird little bridges.
Ooh.
But you couldn't pick the zip lines. Like there were 11, and you had to do them all to get from the beginning to the end. And like the middle ones were so high up, and I was like, I will shit myself. Like I can't do this as my first zip line trip, so I had to do the bridges because I was a pussy. But yeah, you got to go there. It's so beautiful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's the craziest heckler experience you've had in recent memory?
I think like it's just, I honestly, I think I just block them from my head. But I think one time this woman yelled at me for having scoliosis. I was talking about having scoliosis and she was just not having it. And I was like, why is this a problem? Like, I have it. I can talk about it, that kind of thing. And, but the ones that really piss me off more than the hecklers are just the people that just sit. Like, if you just get a bunch of bros and you can tell they're like, women aren't funny.
Yeah.
But they're silent, but they just look at you like, what are you doing? You should be cooking. Like, I hate those.
Yeah.
I hate those.
Also, I shouldn't be cooking. I'm not good at it.
Yeah. You don't want to eat my food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those silent types that just stare. I hate those.
Do you feel like being tall informed your comedy?
For sure. Like, I moved to New York to pursue acting, and I didn't think about stand-up. It wasn't anything I followed growing up. It wasn't part of my life. But then when in acting, you basically have to wait for them to call you because you're waiting for an audition. Like you're waiting for someone to see you. There was no social media. So you had to like staple your headshot to your resume and then just wait. Yeah. And I'm like, this is bullshit. Like this could take forever. So once I started doing stand-up, I took all my like frustrations, which was like, I'm not getting any acting work. I'm so tall. All the guys in New York are short. Why can't a tall guy ask me out? Like all that stuff, I just put that on stage. So I think my first 2 years of comedy was just, I'm tall. Like it was just because I took a class. I was so scared of comedy. And they're like, take a class. And the teacher was like, talk about, if you don't know what to talk about your appearance. So like there was one guy, and none of these people still do it, but like there was one guy with a really big head and you're like, you have to talk about your head. It's so big. So for me, it was like, I'm tall. So that's just what I talked about.
It's so awkward when people have something that's unique that they don't address on stage. And you're like, are we all just going to sit here
and like think about it? Like just say it.
At least say it.
Yeah.
I'm like 5'8" and I've always felt And you're 6 foot, right?
I'm 6 foot, yeah.
But you wear heels.
I never wear heels.
Really? You wore them?
Only on late nights.
Okay.
I do.
You do?
It's so funny because I think I've done like, I can't remember, 5 or 6, and I've worn the same heels for all of them.
Oh, lucky
They're
heels.
like they're my like go-to, but mostly because my feet are big or they just look clunky if I wear other ones, you know, and they're like a nude heel. So I feel like they matched everything. But yeah, I never wear heels.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just, I mean, at this point, I just feel awkward in them, or I just feel too tall, or I feel like I don't walk confidently in them, or unless I go to a wedding, and then I'm like, I'll just wear heels for the ceremony, and then at the reception, I'll just take them off.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like I can't walk in them. I feel like I'm about to fall over.
Yeah, and they just, I don't know. You just reach a point where like comfort is more important than.
Yeah.
But it's funny for the special. I was talking to Jason, the director, and I'm like, can I wear sneakers? And he's like, well, we'll see your feet. So, you know.
What does that mean?
What?
What do you mean we'll see your feet?
Like it's okay if you don't mind, you know. And I'm like, you know what? I do have these other shoes that have like just a little bit of a heel. So I think I might wear those. But there is a part of me that just wants to wear like my little outfit with sneakers.
Yes.
So which I'm sure is fine.
So okay, what does a director do in a comedy special?
That has always been a question I had, because you're just doing your thing.
Yeah.
But I think it just covers like, you know, how do you want us to film you? What do you want behind you? What in the backdrop? What lighting do you want? What angles do you want? I think we should do this. I think we should do that. So it's stuff that has to do more with the shooting of it than like, don't do your joke like that. You should do it like that. Because what they can't say, I mean, they can offer you advice, but it's your comedy. So I think it's more about like, you know, the filming of it.
Okay.
And just making sure everything is like a producer, making sure everything is like set up.
And do you feel like they have like a big hand in the editing process, or?
I mean,
does it just depend?
It depends. I don't know yet, but I know that I have a big part, and I do want their advice because they've done so many. Yeah. So I think it's good to have both.
I shot half hour at the stand like in September, and I didn't really have another pair of eyes on the footage because I did 2 shows, and essentially like I went through them and I like wrote down which jokes I like better on each set, or like which set I want as like the base. And it would definitely have like in the future, it'd be helpful to have another person give their input on all that, because of course there were editors, but I feel like if there was someone just specifically allocated to just a second opinion, that always goes a long way.
So did you edit it yourself, all of it?
I didn't like actually do the editing, but like I gave the notes. I didn't. There was no other comic that I was like, which would have been really helpful in retrospect, but.
Yeah, but you can do that for your next one.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of stuff in already, even, and I haven't even taped it yet, where I'm like, this is what I'm going to do next time. Like you learn so much. Like the way I'm going through my jokes right now to put my hour together, I'm like, why don't I just do this all the time? Because I'm putting so much attention on it. And I'm like, what am I doing the rest of the year? Like just picking my ass waiting for a show to start. Whereas like this one, I'm like, oh my God, what about this tag? Like it's almost like under pressure, you work so much harder. Yeah. But then you want to do that when you don't have a special, because then you'll just be a better comic.
What do you have a writing process?
Now I do. I lost all of it during COVID. I got so comfortable. Yeah. And it's so weird. I couldn't get started again. Like when the vaccine came out, I got so depressed because I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm like, that can't be true, because when I do it, I love it. But I couldn't, it was like a hamster on the wheel, and then the hamster's off the wheel and I couldn't get back on. It was so weird. Yeah. So I started reading these like, how to like habits. And then I realized like, oh, I completely like, I have no habits. They're all gone. So I had to like restart my habits. And I read that the most important things you should do in the morning, which it sounds so basic, But like I would wait and write stuff at like 4 p.m. and just and that's helped me so much. And then you realize once the habit is there that it just kind of, your brain almost expects it. Like, oh, we're writing now. It's 9 a.m. And then the creativity just starts to come in. So now it's so much easier.
So when you sit down to write, are you like organizing and tagging things you have? Do you have like, just like, let's just free write?
Free write.
Yeah.
I would think like right now it's different just because I'm doing the special.
Right.
But like once that's over, I do about, it doesn't even have to be that much. It could be 20 minutes of free writing. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's not. But it just kind of opens up the gates.
Yeah.
And after that, I usually work out. And then later, if I want, I'll like watch a set. But like, it's so funny. I used to watch my sets all the time. And it helps so much.
Yeah.
And in the last month, I've watched so many sets. And I'm like, do this more. It's ridiculous.
It is helpful. You notice like little things. You remember you remember like, oh my God, I didn't know I said that was funny. I should totally take that.
Like I've lost so many tags.
Right.
And now I'm like, you better fucking write that down because it's crazy. Like it's just putting a little more effort into it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a point where you, like at the beginning, I was hardcore because I didn't have enough material. And then once you have so much material, like you kind of coast. I mean, I should speak for myself. Not everyone does that, but I kind of plateaued because I was like, I got it.
Yeah.
And then I would just go headline and not really care about the order. Just be like, well, I have 2 hours in my head. I'll just talk about whatever comes out.
Yeah.
Instead of like, no, have an order. And this will be better like here. So I definitely want to keep some of that
definitely
for after. Yeah.
I love an order.
Yeah. It makes things so much easier. And I remember like, I would be so like, I'd have to look at my set at the very last minute just to be like, what am I going to remember? But once you have an order and it's like really in there,
yeah, like
you can just shoot the shit until they call your name, you know, and be like, oh yeah, I got it.
It reminds me of like when you're listen to like, you're used to listening to like a full album of a musician.
Yeah.
And like when one song ends, you already think of the first song as part of that song, the first next song. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like I really can blank out on stage if I completely abandon the order. I'm like, where was I?
And then once you do like 2 or 3 shows a night, like you start mixing them up. And I've had to a couple of times just go like, I'm sorry, did I already do this joke? Because you're not laughing. And then you're like, wait, maybe I did it, or they just don't think it's funny. But it gets you out of like the present. You start thinking like, holy shit, I fucking did this joke.
Have you ever done that? The same joke twice?
One time I think I did, but I think most of the time, no. It's just in my head. But it was just an hour ago that I did that joke. So it feels like I just did it. But one time, it's funny, I was selling T-shirts, and this was like 15 years ago. And one of the punchlines was on the T-shirt. Mm-hmm. So I have to do that joke to make the T-shirt make sense when I sell it, right? And I went to sell my T-shirts, and they're like, I don't get this. And I'm like, it's the chicken joke. And they're like, you didn't do that joke. So it just comes off as really weird that I'm selling these shirts about chickens.
No, everyone knows the we don't eat happy chicken joke.
Oh, no, it was years ago.
Really?
No, it was a joke. I remember this. It was a joke about when I first started going to therapy. I was like, when you first go and everything comes out, and I was like crying, and it's like all these years of childhood were just coming out. And I remember I was like, how am I going to remember everything I'm learning in here? I'm going to go backwards if I stop. And I remember my therapist goes, you can't go backwards. You can't stick an egg back into a chicken. And that just always, and I'm like, and my joke was, I think you can. Like, I think if I found a chicken and I hard boiled the egg, I could shove it back up there. I know I could. It was something like that.
Yeah.
And so it was something about, yes, you can shove an egg back into a chicken. And I remember someone came out and they were like,
what
is this shirt? I mean, I'll buy it, but what is it? And I was like, oh my God, they have no idea. So weird.
I love your joke about how you don't want to eat free range chickens because they're enjoying their life.
Yes.
I love that.
Thank you. And it's so funny because that joke, everyone has their own version of it. So when you do it, like people are like, so-and-so has that joke. And then you watch it and it's totally different.
Yeah.
And they don't know. It's like, yeah, it's the same time. It's not that hard to go and be like free range versus no range or, you know.
Yeah.
And as I've had that a couple of times where you watch it and you're like, okay, calm down. I know you're a super fan of so-and-so comedian and I know he has the same subject, but it's not the same joke. So fuck off, you know, like that. But thank you. Yeah, I love that one.
That one's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
It's funny because I do feel guilty when I eat meat a lot.
Yeah.
Like I was a vegetarian for a long time, then I stopped and now I just can't get myself to really be disciplined about it. But then I hear your joke that those chickens want to die anyway, and
they do kill them. They're so sad. Yeah, I was vegetarian for vegan. My boyfriend and I went vegan during COVID.
Yeah,
for 6 months. Again, nothing else to do. Let's try this.
Right.
Didn't last after 6 months. I missed steak.
6 months is a good amount of time.
Really?
In my opinion.
Yeah.
To not eat cheese.
Okay, maybe we ate cheese, but we weren't total vegans. But we did. We went to oat milk, and we still on that. We stopped eggs. We're back on eggs.
Yeah.
But chicken was disgusting because I watched one of those documentaries where they like mistreat the animals.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even. I didn't care about the animals. It just sounded more gross that I was putting those dirty animals into my body.
Yeah. Speaking of hoarding, I mean, it's
like hoarding chickens.
Yeah.
It is.
Hoarding chickens.
And then it's so funny because I was like, I'm really selfish or narcissistic because like I'm watching them mistreat these animals, but I'm making it about myself. Like I don't deserve that disgusting shit in my body instead of like, oh, poor animal.
No, I mean,
you know?
I think it is a valid point that they're not healthy conditions.
Yeah.
And like they're pumping antibiotics and all this shit into the animal that's actually not healthy for you to take in. So you're not wrong.
But then I'm like, now it's protein. I miss it. And I started eating it again. And then I found out recently that I'm anemic.
Oh.
And my doctor's like, you need to eat more red meat. And I'm like, really? That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So, okay, I'll eat more red meat.
Wow. Okay, I like to end my podcast. I pull up a tarot card.
Oh, sweet.
I was like, do you have any experience with tarot cards?
Yes. I used to go I was kind of a psycho. And one of my first jokes, if you watch, I think it's on Letterman, it was about like, I would get my psychic reading so that I knew what was going to happen in my future. Mm-hmm. And one of the things the tarot card reader said was, I've already met my husband. And so now I was like, I got to think about all the guys I know and which one's my husband. I got to find him. And I think the joke was like, and then I went to the deli and this guy was like, do you want extra turkey in your sandwich? And I'm like, is it you? Are you trying to tell me something? You know, so I was obsessed. I would go for fun, but then I like believed it.
Oh, yeah.
Do you believe it?
I've never gone to a psychic. I'm too scared of them saying something I don't want to hear and then not being able to get it out of my head.
But they don't, I mean, if they're not like, you're going to die next week.
Right.
They'll be like, there's some darkness coming in and, you know, like stuff like that. Where,
some darkness coming in.
But then, it could be like that you lose your wallet. It's not that you're dying.
Right.
You know.
What were they right? Did you already know?
Well, then you just start focusing on all the darkness and you're like, oh, I did lose my phone last week. You know, like you just create the problem yourself. It wasn't good. I stopped going. And it was a huge waste of money.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
I feel like they charge a lot. Okay, I'm going to pull a card for you.
Okay. And you can actually read these or are you making it up? Like
I can read from the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right, I'm excited.
Not good enough yet.
Okay.
Oh, we've got a great card though.
Okay, good.
For the special Father of Pentacles.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, Pentacles are money. Father, that's like a dad.
Okay. My dad? Is it about my dad?
I don't know. Do you want to read from the book
please.
for me?
Yes.
Please.
Okay.
Okay.
I like the rainbow gay pride horns.
Yeah.
So that's good.
It's loving.
But then isn't this the star of the devil or is it penta?
Yeah. Well, it can be, but in this case it's just like one of the elements and it represents like material things.
Okay, so
it's like a coin.
It.
Like some tarot decks will have like a coin instead.
And it kind of looks like a rat with horns. A hamster?
It does. The hamster on the wheel.
Oh. Or is there a mouse in my apartment?
Ooh, I hope not.
Wait, so you're gonna read it?
Yeah,
okay.
let's read it. Okay.
All right, cool.
You'll usually Oh, this is not the right one. Okay.
I was like, how did you find it so quickly?
I know. I almost had it. All right. Okay. You're steady and entrepreneurial. The Father of Pentacles is a steady, gentle man. Upon first meeting, he can almost seem dull because of extremely calm temperament, but underneath is an incredibly passionate man who prioritizes the stability of his job, family, and home. He's entrepreneurial and diligent at work. A true pleasure to know.
Okay. So is this father supposed to represent me? Like I'm the father?
Like there's a father in your life. Like, like there's someone in your life that is like this.
Okay.
Or it could be you. It's however it resonates with you.
All right. I mean,
it doesn't always hit the nail on the head. I do feel
no, but I can relate.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like even thinking of maybe like a director of a special, you know, kind of steady, gentle, helping bring the money in. Well, we like that.
It's funny too because like in therapy, they sometimes analyze your dreams, and my therapist was like really into that. And she always said that everyone that shows up in your dream is you.
Whoa.
Yeah. So like I had a dream recently that a ram, like the animal, a ram, like a goat with horns or whatever. I don't know. I know you know what a ram is, but he was just like right there and he kept pushing me. And I was like, that's me.
Whoa.
I'm pushing myself away from something.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I don't even know what it means, but it was weird.
I love that.
Yeah. So maybe this is me. I am a hamster with horns.
I love that. So
anyway,
where again can we see your live taping?
Please. Is that the camera? Please.
That's it.
Please come to the Comedy Cellar Monday, June 26th. 2 shows, 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. Get your tickets, comedycellar.com, or go to Instagram or my TikTok or my Twitter. They're all the same, at Carmen Comedian. The link is in the bio. It's in English, Monday, June 26th.
Or July 15th in Barcelona.
Yeah, or both.
Is it Barcelona?
Barcelona, por favor, venir el 15 de julio. 2 shows, a las 8 y a las 10.
Thank you.
That was aggressive.
That was amazing. Oh. Do you ever just do that in your act, like dip into Spanish?
I should. Sometimes when I'm my mom, I'll like be her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's really an amazing character. I love that.
Oh, maybe I'll just throw it in there then.
Yeah, just sprinkle it in. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching.
Gracias.
You know where you can find Carmen, and you can find the podcast, youtube.com/Natalie Cuomo, and we'll see you next week. Bye.